Thank you, Deputy Speaker. That's one of the more outrageous contributions I've heard in this House in a long, long time. And I want to just deal with a few things. I live in one of the most diverse electorates in the country. People from all over the world have come to Parramatta to make it their home, and I don't find people wandering around my community who have spent years becoming an Australian citizen undervaluing that right. In fact, they're proud of it, and I am very proud of them. The previous speaker also wanted us to talk about the economy today. Well, let's do that. Let's acknowledge that the 2 million people that have come here as migrants to this country since settlement, or since 1901, have contributed greatly to the economy of this country. Some of our biggest companies were built by migrants who would not pass the tests that this government wants to impose, would not pass them. Out there in the world, in spite of the protestations across there, very few people support these proposals, and we know that from the Senate inquiry, when over 14,000 submissions were made, and 2 of them were in favour. And one of those was the government. So let's ignore that. 1 submission in favour of these and 14,000 against. That's the view that is out there. And what causes 14,000 people to get off their bottoms and go to their desk and start writing submissions to the Senate? Well, I'll tell you, some of the most appalling changes to citizenship that I could have imagined. Citizenship changes that will prevent many, many people from becoming citizens, even after they have committed to this country with their hearts, with their families, with their minds, with their investment, with their taxes, with their work hours, and with literally the fruit of their loins and wombs, sometimes with 35 grandchildren. I have them in my electorate that would not pass the English language test, that have spent their lives here building businesses, have had children, have raised them, have sent them to university, have had grandchildren, have had great-grandchildren, and still would be without citizenship if this English language test was in place when they migrated to Australia. It's outrageous, and it doesn't recognise who we are, and it doesn't recognise the reality that our economy is built in a large part by people who came here from around the world, brought their skills, which we didn't even pay for, to this country and used them for the benefit of this country, came here with educations or came here without it and worked their bottoms off, because I can't use the word I'd like to use, to make it work for their family. People that worked 2 jobs, people that turned up here like the Vietnamese boat people. I was working in the Golden Circle Cannery at the time, paying my way through high school, turned up in boats, and in their thousands turned up at the factory, worked every single hour they could, to get their family ahead. Any hour, any overtime hour. Extraordinary people who would not have passed this test, would not have passed it. This is outrageous, and let's look at what exactly the rationale for this is. Government says it's about national security, except there's no evidence. There's no evidence that these changes would improve national security. There's no request from any of the security agencies at all, and none of them put in submissions to the Senate inquiry. There's a claim that it's about improving integration. Well, how does it improve integration when you've got a mum staying home looking after children, her husband's an Australian citizen, her children are Australian citizens, and 15, 20, 25 years later she still can't pass the English language test? How does that make us better? How does that improve integration? How does it do that? How does it do that? It doesn't. This is ridiculous. How does it improve integration when you see an example in my electorate of a business person came here on a business visa, sets up their business, probably wouldn't pass the English language test because it is, in spite of the protestations on the other side, IELTS 6, which is a university-level entrance test. It's administered internationally by a private company. It's used all around the world for universities to test whether or not a person has the appropriate international-level English. It's not based on Australian language. It's based on international level. It's designed for university entrance. It effectively puts the requirements for English language in the hands of a foreign company that has built a test for a completely different reason. It makes no sense. It's incredibly unfair, and we will be a worse country, less integrated and less safe because of these changes. It simply does not make any sense, and it's profoundly unfair.